Hi everybody. A couple of years ago I did a video on getting cars from Blender into the Mania Planet games for racing. So that's things like Trackmania Canyon and Trackmania Rally. I have a set of videos on it, one going through the whole setup and process, and a couple of others just covering doing dirty damage and that, and general sort of information about building them. And last week or the week before, one of the two, someone was asking if they can use the same process to pull these games into the Trackmania Nations Forever game, and the simple answer is not exactly the same setup. Close, but not exactly the same. So I'm just going to cover that now, so you can follow these up to basically the final stages of prior to exporting it from Blender. And then you can go one of two ways. You can either follow this way and pull it into Mania Planet, or follow this particular video you're listening to now and pull it into Trackmania Nations Forever. That's not easy to say. Now, to do that, you have to be using Blender 2.79 for the simple reason there's a very specific 3ds export script which is needed to pull it into, I'll just call it TMF for now, and it's this one here. I will be providing the link to this down below, and I will provide this link to link you to the release of 2.79. I tend to just grab the relevant zip file and unpack it. Now, depending on the version of Blender you're using, whether you're using a later version like me with 2.91, or you're stuck in 2.79 and that's where you like to live, depends on how you go about things. You can do it all in 2.79. I don't, simply because I keep forgetting the keystrokes and relying on functions that just don't exist in 2.79. And so what I tend to do is I activate in both. I'll go into the add-ons and I will activate the copy attributes menu. Make sure I've saved my settings, and I'll do the same again in my 291. And that way when I open a file, let's choose this chap. No, go away. I can then just select everything, Control C, copy it, and then I can paste it into 2.79 just prior to the export. So I just find that an easy way of working. So without further ado, let's get on to the actual process. First things first, the easy bit. The projected shadow that you build from the texture inside of the videos, to work in TMF, it's got to be 512 by 512, like that. But as you can see, it's also got to be squidged. So you just take the one that you would normally build for Mania Planet, just resize it, make sure your ratio isn't active. You do 512, bump, save that, convert it to a DDS. Again, as you can see from the other videos, I use GIMP for that process. That's that side done. The rest of it is pretty much the same. The only caveat to that is, as you can see, the glass and the wheels all belong in the details. They don't belong in their own separate things. In Mania Planet, the wheels have their own texture setup. Not the case here. Now you can go with not putting the glass in here and just using G-body, but what I found when I was actually testing it in game is it will then use the skin sort of as reflections, so you get some weird looking sort of reflections of your skin in there. So by assigning it specifically as part of the details, you don't have that issue. So just something to be aware of. In terms of structure, you can again, unlike Mania Planet, you don't export the fake shadow. So you move that out of the way. Also, you don't rotate them. So you got this point, and you're to go out to Mania Planet, you do the rotation. Here, leave it as it is. And the other key point what we're going to find out is these don't work in TMF. They've got to be hard geometry. The car comes in, but the brake lights don't work. If that isn't actual geometry, the brake light just simply doesn't work in TMF. It drove me nuts when I finally figured it out. So let's get on to it. It's pretty quick. First things first, I shall just put on the axis, because its orientation is important, and set it to local. So for example, first things first, I do this because I've not actually tested it any other way. So I just delete the prod shad, and I shall just duplicate that. I'll stick that in another collection. I'm going to rename that. I'm using the F2 key there, and call that prod shad. I suppose I could really turn on the shortcut keys, couldn't I? Here we go. I could do with being a bit further up and a bit further along. Okie dokie. So that is called prod shad, and then I'm just going to RX90 and get rid of any texture on it. That's that done. If you don't do that, the shadow ends up really badly mapped in the middle of the car in game. So that's that bit done. Next bit, really, replacing these with hard geometry. So your lights. So you've got your lights, FR, FL, RL and RR, just get rid of them. Just add in a little cylinder. I'm going to give it 6. Scale that down. Scale it on the Z. RX90. Control A and apply rotation at scale. Right, then all I basically do, top view. I'm just going to position that where you would position the empties. It's as quick to do this as it is to try and use the... it's still a bit big, I'll just scale that down a bit more. As it is to try and sort of position the cursor at the empty, then move this to the cursor, and everything is a pain. So this would be light front right one. Duplicate that X, pull it across there. Light front left one. I'm just going to select both of them, duplicate on the Y, pull across, move them up a bit, pull them in a bit, something like that. They look about right. And then we rename them. So that is light rear right and light rear left. Now with these, the local y-axis has got to face in the car, so just RZ 180 and just duplicate it on that one. And that is it, basically. You've got your wheels, you've got your glass, you've got your body, you've got your light projection, and that's everything. So all I do then is I select everything, copy it, go to me 279 and paste. And we're not interested in whether it looks pretty anyway, because, well, it's immaterial, if you pardon the pun. But they're there anyway, as you can see. It's, you know, it holds all the UV mapping and that. So, yeah, so for this to work, you get your export one, go to RAW, and simply save file. save page as, save that wherever you keep your add-ons, and then just make sure you've added it in your preferences and activated it. So select everything, go to File, Export, 3ds for TMF, selection only, and then go wherever you keep your exports. Give it a name and export it. Now obviously if you've got a high-res version as well, then do a similar process for the high-res. And that's the Blender side of it done. And pull up Trackmania Forever, go into Help, Custom Data, Car Geometry, select your 3ds, say Open, and it gives you this message. Ignore this, you don't do this at all. So say OK, 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 and you can leave that sat there ready to test if you want. So then go to your export area, there's your car. So I'm just going to copy that, and I am going to take it to here, paste it in, delete these are the old ones. So we want to rename that main body .solid.gbx. Then just copy and paste it if you haven't got a high-res version. Rename this one to main body high.solid.gbx. The case is important. Then you just basically take these, your icon, your prod shadow, your maps are called diffuse and details rather than named the way they are for Mania Planet. So diffuse is basically your skin and details is your details, but they just got the single name and plus an illumination if you've got one. Now I didn't actually add that, so let me just pull up GIMP and add this. Won't take a second. And I simply export as, call it DDS, make sure that it's a DXT5 with bitmaps, close that. So there we've got our DDS now, so we go back to here. So we've got Illum, our body, our icon, our shadow, our diffuse and our details, and we create a zip file. Boom. There we go, one zip file. So you copy that zip file and you paste it into wherever your Trackmania documents is. So you go skins, vehicles, car common, wherever you keep all your sort of downloaded cars, like that, and you paste it in there. And if you've got everything right, we can go in here, go to profile, vehicles, anyone, it doesn't really matter, rally. Boom, 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 boom. Where are you? Come on. What am I looking for? Doop. There it is. Now that tells me light FR1 bad material. Right, I've made a mistake somewhere with the object. And that's a simple thing, that just is a question of not naming something correctly. So let's go to 279, and sure enough, here we go. So take I'll set that to visible layers so I can see what I'm playing with. That's more like it. So select everything again. File, export. Don't select it only, overwrite it. Now I'm going to have to come out of Trackmania because you can only do the file conversion from the front menu. So let's load this up. Help, custom data, car geometry. Do that. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, go to my 3ds exports. Copy that. Copy it, not cut it. Go here, paste. I'm lazy, so I'm going to F2 and Control C the name. F2, Control V. Control C, Control V. F2, main body high. Get rid of the copy name. Open up the zip. Drag them in. Copy. Go to car common. Paste and overwrite. So let's try that again. Now it's worked. So that was a show that somewhat was wrong, because you'll see the actual car chassis for the option with your skin on if there's some problem with the car. The message isn't very good in TMF because it tends to hide 90% of it. So just use model for all cars. We'll do a quick test just to make sure it's working and the brake lights work. So and the brake lights work, so that's all right. So we know it works, and that's basically it. It's that straightforward. Like I say, just a few changes to the other one. That is, not everything goes up by 90 degrees. You want hard geometry for these, otherwise it doesn't work. And just keep an eye on your materials, that your wheels are part of the detail map, and that's it, you're good to go. So I hope this is of use if people are still using TMF. I do, I must admit, I tend to bounce between the two, and I'll see you next time.